Hey, how about you, everybody? Welcome to this week's edition of the Auburn Live Recruiting Show. I'm your host, Jeffrey Lee, Senior Recruiting Editor for Auburn Live on 3. Today is, what is today? Thursday, April the 6th, 2023. We're going to talk some in-depth recruiting, a lot of recruiting intel to get to today. We got a big weekend ahead of us. As I said, Auburn Live on 3 right now. If you're not a member of that site, we got a spring game special going, folks. $10 for 4 months. That's really difficult for me to say, process. But I did it. $10, 4 months. Auburn Live on 3. We'll be having blowout covers this weekend, and we're going to preview that today. And I am joined, as I always am, by Mr. Jhead, Mr. Cole Pinkston. Mr. Keith Niebuhr's back from the left. How you doing, big dog?
What's going on, guys?
How about you? Keith, tell us about the adventure on the West Coast.
You don't sound very excited to be back.
Yeah. I mean, vacation, you never want to come back, but I got I finally did. I had some time to kill before my friends got out there. So I did a few things. I went and saw some family in Fresno, which is way out in the country, big city, but farmland, you know. And that was cool seeing Fresno State. I was there a week after Davis Harsin visited the Bulldogs. But last Friday, before my friends flew in, we went out on a golf trip. I had several hours to kill, so I went and did the Alcatraz tour, but I opened the car door right into my head, and I still have a welt on my head, and I was woozy for a couple hours. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, just one of those fluky things, but it was cool seeing Alcatraz. Like, I've been reading about it my whole life. I've been to San Francisco a bunch, but I've never been out there, and I don't know. To me, it was like one of those kind of historical bucket list things that you got to do, so it was fun. But back to recruiting, back to real life.
We're glad to see you escaped.
Yeah, he's already made his excuse for, his mental state right now. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, folks, we have a freaking unbelievable visitor list coming up for A-Day. We're going to talk about that real quick, though. If you're going to be in town this weekend, you're looking for a house in or around Auburn, Opelika, Lee County, give her a call, man. Jessica Andrews with the Talents Group. She does it all, as Jhead said. She's a 5-star realtor, consensus 5-star. 334-704-4442. She can find your next dream home. She can sell the one you have. She can even find you an investment property if you want to invest in some properties. Let some of those college kids pay the rent for you. Something to do, you know. Jessica Andrews, give her a call, 334-704-4442. Tell her we sent you. Folks, I'm going to tell you, listen, if Big Cat Weekend was this weekend, right, and we had the list that we have, nobody would be complaining.
Nope, zero.
You and I feel like dummies, though, because we were under the impression that it would be just another day a few weeks ago.
Well, we were told that. And it might have been – were we told that on air? I can't remember.
I think maybe it was off the air, but I'm looking at the visitors list, and I'm like, wow, I mean, this is impressive. You know?
According to On3's industry ranking or On3 rankings, whichever one you want to look at, right now Auburn has 24 or 5-star recruits. That's just in the 24 class. 24 and 5-star recruits, a couple of 5-star recruits in KJ Bolden, Landon Thomas, the 5-star tight end. Cam Coleman is a future 5-star. I think 24/7 has a couple of these guys ranked 5 stars as well. Probably pushing double if you were to include all the networks, the rankings of every network, and if one network, at least one network, has these guys a 5-star, you'd probably be pushing double digits right now, 5 stars. The 2024 class, you've got the number 1, the number 2 wide receivers. You've got which would be Ryan Williams, and then who's the kid from Mississippi coming over? I just wrote about him, Caleb Cunningham.
Yes.
So you got the top 2 wide receivers in the country in the 2025 class coming in, and then you look at Cam Coleman in the 2024 class, Perry Thompson, the 2024 class, both of those guys right on the verge, cusp, fringe, in honor of Keith, of 5-star status. Keith, let's go to you, B-Dog. Let's get some fresh takes from Keith. You look at this list, Keith. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I think to me, the big one that stands out, there's a couple. Cam Coleman is the big one because I've got to pick in. You guys are kind of sitting there, leaving me hanging, obviously, as you mentioned last week.
Not for long.
And you look, I put a pick in because they said, our bosses said, hey, you losers get off the couch and put some picks in. And so we didn't want to all put in the same damn guys. I mean, you know what I mean? And so I'm like, all right, whatever, man. I mean, I feel like they got a really good shot, but I don't know at the end of the day. And I still don't know at the end of the day.
And he hadn't visited at that point.
Right. That's my point. Yeah, he hadn't visited yet. So I'm thinking, all right, is this kid going to visit or what? I mean, I'm starting to look a little bit little bit shaky here. But now this will be visit number 3. And, again, I still maintain that because he's so close, the number of visits isn't that relevant because he can come over anytime he wants. Heck, for all we know, he's going to stop by when we don't even know he's stopping by. There's going to be some of those too because, there was with Rashaan Evans back in the day. We just stopped by just to hang out and say hi. It didn't work. But that one's a big one because now you're talking 3 visits in a 2-week period. Auburn's got some real momentum here. He's feeling really comfortable over there. He knows he's a high priority. He knows what Hugh Freeze does with big receivers historically. So that's a big one. But, KJ Bolden's an interesting one for me because I still have my doubts about that one. I mean, it's so much Georgia confidence, not even chatter, confidence. And then Ohio State hanging around too. But so what does this mean? Is this now going to lead to an official visit? So I'm keeping an eye on that one. And then, one other one, I'll just do one more, than you guys can do the rest. Saquon Patterson. Now, there's a lot of other guys. Landon Thomas, the Georgia commit, elite tight end. I think he's going to be difficult to flip. It's nice that he's coming. But Saquon Patterson has really talked up Auburn. He's been there before. Is a guy affiliated with the 7-on-7 organization down in South Florida, has ties to Auburn. Auburn's got good cred down in Broward County since Jeffrey's been writing about guys years ago. So you add it up and you think maybe they got a shot with this guy. Now, I don't know where he sits on the board. I have no idea. He's a safety, 4-star safety at Chaminade Madonna, where Auburn's gotten guys before, including Sean Shivers. But so those are 3 eye openers to me. Those are the 3 that kind of piqued my interest.
Cole, what about yourself, big dog?
Well, to be fair, y'all have left me hanging because I have a pick on DeMarcus Riddick to flip from Georgia, and nobody else has.
Not for long.
Well, you're going to be hanging a little while alone on that one for me. Maybe all the while, but we'll see.
I'll go back to, I wrote a story today on the 5 most important 8A visitors. And my top 5 are Cam Coleman, obviously, DeMarcus Riddick, KJ Bolden, Perry Thompson, and Kevin Riley, which I think we went back. If we go back to you and I's show, Jeffrey, when we did the Inside the 20, I think we talked about the impact guys from out of state and in-state, and I think we named all of those guys. Pretty much, I don't think any of those guys were left out. So if you're trying to make an impact, you're getting pretty much everybody on campus that would be an impact win, that you're recruiting really hard. And those are the top 5, in my opinion. I still think, even though Jamarian Burnett is committed, Kevin Riley's just a huge deal that he's going to be there. It's the first trip back in the year of 2023 that we know of. So I think that one's huge. Perry Thompson, we know how that one's been going lately. He's been visiting Auburn, sometimes even quietly. So that's interesting that he's coming back. And, it's hard to even track when he's going to be at Auburn, when he's not going to be at Auburn, or when he's going to be at Alabama. It's just a tight battle there. And he's been open about that. He said that, if it's not Alabama, it's Auburn, no doubt. So, and then, the same thing with KJ Bolden, same thing with Cam Coleman. I'm just going to go back to my pick here, DeMarcus Riddick. I still think he ends up at one of the in-state schools. I've said that a few times, and I believe it. I think he's going to end up at Alabama or Auburn personally as it sits today. And Auburn's getting another great shot here.
Can I say something real quick? I forgot to mention. It's the brilliance of them having the game the day they're having it, Jeffrey. Or were you guys saying, Jhead? Did I?
No, you go ahead.
I don't think this has been talked about, Keith, but I have been thinking this.
We mentioned it a few weeks ago, that ahead of everybody else. I mean, you've seen Florida's going to have theirs next Thursday to try to – why not just have it a weekend before? Why do Thursday where you can't get – I mean, that's tricky. A lot of people can't come probably. But Auburn, it's a weekend. It's Easter weekend, but it's Vanderbilt, I believe, is the only other school in the SEC that's going to have its spring game on Saturday. So they're not recruiting against the same guys as Vanderbilt. Not anymore. And and so now you've given these kids this is it. This is the show in town being the Southeast region. And now you look at the results. You look at the visitors list and you're like, if you're not sort of impressed by that, you're not looking hard enough. You're not thinking about it because it's impressive. But this made kids' decisions easier, right? Now they still got to get out of bed. They're still teenagers, but there's no, do I go to Clemson or Auburn, or Georgia, Auburn, Florida, Bama? It's the only 2 that day in the SEC are Auburn and Vanderbilt. So I think that was a brilliant strategy. Whoever came up with it, you obviously never know what the other schools are going to do. But, I mean, brilliant, quite frankly.
Yeah. Jhead, who are some of the guys that you're looking at?
Well, first and foremost, when you look at the complexion of the current team and how we stack up with our opponents to a degree, the guys that we measure ourselves against, the Georgias, the Alabamas, the Clemsons, what Auburn doesn't have right now in its current roster, in my opinion, is that upper echelon, high-end talent that scares other teams. Those impact players, when they walk onto the field, Alabama thinks, I got to figure out a way to stop this guy. We've got to take this away. You know what I mean? It's not Auburn scheming them to death. They are literally looking at these guys in a way that, hey, we have to figure out a way to neutralize that player or we're going to lose this game. And what you see on this list are impact players of that caliber. And where do we need impact players? We need them in the linebacker room. We need them in the wide receiver room. We need them literally across both lines of scrimmage. You've obviously already got your quarterback in this class, but what I love is you're bringing in guys that are high-end NFL toolsy type guys that have that kind of impact capability if they're developed correctly. But I mean, obviously getting Perry Thompson, an Alabama commitment, that's a big-time wide receiver, that's huge. Cam Coleman, KJ Bolden, the number one player in the state of Georgia, the number one safety in the country. You're getting him to come down from Atlanta when he could be taking that opportunity to go stay at Georgia for an extended stay over the weekend. It wouldn't surprise a lot of people if he did. He's been there, I think, 10 times already. But you're able to get him away from Athens, and he comes to Auburn for the weekend. But just like you talked about before, if this were a Big Cat list, would anybody at all have an issue with this? No, because you're bringing more 5-stars on campus than we probably saw. And I'm not trying to – I know this is going to sound derogatory, but more 5-stars in this weekend than we saw the entire duration of the Brian Harsin era, if I'm being completely honest. So just for a fan that's looking for hope, a fan that, wants to see an upward trajectory, this weekend is providing that to you. And to Keith's point on the spring game, I think this is huge on two fronts. Yes, you manipulated the schedule so that you could take advantage and get kids there. Two, it helps you wrap everything, make all your evaluations, have all of your discussions with players before the big transfer portal weekend coming up of the 15th. So when kids are ready to get into the portal, you're prepared. You're ready to go. You already know who you want to retain and who maybe you're kind of edging into the portal, pushing into the portal to a degree. So it's just a shrewd move all the way around to go ahead and get all this taken care of.
Keith, I'm going to go back to you because you said, about Cam Coleman, you putting it in this, like leaving you out to dry. I thought about this the other night, man. We talk about flipping the script. Hugh Freeze is always mentioning that and changing the narrative when it comes to Auburn recruiting. And he's already doing it, at least with me personally, because I'm starting to lean towards that. Like, I can actually start to see that some things are happening. I mean, I think in 16 days, he's been here 3 times.
Yeah, now they got people on campus the last couple of years. They did. But you never felt like I mean, you thought maybe James Smith and Quay Russaw, we had to keep writing about him, but in our hearts, did any of us 4 think they were going to get this?
If you had put in a prediction for Quay Russaw and he kept coming back to Auburn, I still would have been like, hey, big dog, you know what I'm saying?
It's just
but now I'm actually going, man.
Well, because
Hugh's not that crazy.
That's right. Hugh got Laquan Treadwell, 5-star receiver out of Illinois. He got Laramie Tunzel, 5-star offensive tackle out of Lake City, Florida. He got Greg
Little.
Greg Little, 5-star offensive lineman out of the Houston area, maybe somewhere in Texas. And so he's got a track record here. And Brian Harsin didn't. So you didn't feel like you didn't have that high level of confidence that he could get those guys. You wanted to believe it, and guys did visit, but again, you never felt like they were going to get over the finish line. Now, the people that left the program and with him would maintain that they were close, and if he didn't get fired, they were going to get some guys, and maybe that's true. I don't know. But while they were there, they didn't land it. And so now, though, it just feels different. It just and quite frankly, the kids are telling us it feels different. Well, it's kind of irrelevant what we think. I mean, these are just our opinions, but when perception's reality. So when recruits are telling you there's a different vibe over there, then there's probably a different vibe over there. And they're seeing that Auburn's got some momentum. Now, of the 4 commitments, again, we always go back to who did you beat to land these guys? And really, Walker White is the main guy. The other guys are good, solid players, but he's the one that you can really hang your hat on. So you need more of those. But it's a good foundation. And I think, if Jhead Lewis was uncommitted right now, the 4-star cornerback, and was continuing to post these track times that he's posting, then I think you'd be thinking, okay, they're beating some big dogs for him. I think Auburn just got in so early on him that they didn't have to fend off the big dogs for him, quite frankly. But
they did beat Tennessee. I mean,
sure. Well, I said big dogs though. But so for the thing, I'm kidding. No, but look, and I maintain beating Tennessee for Sylvester Smith was big because Tennessee we think is on an upward path. They had a hell of a year last year, and so like even beating FSU. Well, they've had one good year out of the last 5 or 6. But it was last year, and they have some momentum. So those were big wins for Auburn. But they seem to be taking these incremental steps, but quickly. I mean, Hugh was just hired November 28th, I think. And we're only in the first week of April. So incremental, but fast. And I don't know, it just feels different. It just feels different. And now you're waiting for a few more of the shoes to drop. Then you'll feel even better. But, when are they going to happen? I don't know.
For me, it's very interesting to me. Perry Thompson's coming back. I think this is his 3rd visit. I mean,
3rd or 4th.
In the past month of the spring. Perry Thompson, Ryan Williams.
Yes.
These are guys committed to Alabama. So I'm trying to pull back the reins a little bit, but these cats keep showing up. And I guarantee you, if these guys were committed to Auburn and visiting Alabama as much as they're visiting Auburn fans would be in a panic. Now, I don't think Alabama fans are in a panic. No. I wouldn't be, certainly. Ryan Williams, Perry Thompson, and there's a lot of good guys. I mean, Jordan Ross, he's coming back. Jordan Ross, the 4-star edge.
We kind of skip over his name, but
I'm trying not to.
He's interesting. I mean, at one time, Under Armour camp, I got the feeling, I got the vibe. No, Auburn's not getting this guy. It's not going to happen. But he shows up, and remember, we saw him. We kept going, who is that guy? At a visit one night, and he, unannounced. There he was. And we talked to him, and we're like, okay, got some other opinions? Okay, I think they're in this. Well, now, interesting, too, Keith, you mentioned Jhead Lewis, and Jhead, you mentioned Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
I talked to Jhead Lewis about 2 weeks after that Tennessee-Alabama game, which he was in Knoxville, and he said on the phone to me, Tennessee's going to be hard to beat after that. They're going to be hard to beat. So I kind of forgot about him for a minute. Well, when Hugh Freeze and them got in there, they took over that recruitment. So if you're talking about things being different, that's a great example to me. And Jordan Ross was a guy who had not been on campus for a long time with the new staff. And he told me that the old staff sort of left a bad taste in his mouth and gave me a few reasons why. And it was mainly because they left and he didn't know about it. Right, which they can't control that. But when he gets in there with the new staff, watch out. Auburn's back in this.
Mm-hmm.
That's the change. That's the difference.
I guess the only thing I'm waiting for now, Walker White was huge, don't get me wrong. But I'm waiting for that one in the states of Georgia or Alabama.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for one of those two, just a big one.
Keith, would you consider Jordan Ross a big one like that?
Yeah. I would. Anybody, I'd say anybody in the top 10 in Alabama and anybody in the top 20 in the state of Georgia would be,
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. And in this class, really, to me, if you're talking about shots across the bow, because we don't know how hard Alabama's going to pursue Kevin Riley just yet. There's some back and forth there. But Cam Coleman, Jeremiah Beeman, Jhead Jordan Ross, those are the guys, right? If you land those 3 out of the state of Alabama, those are serious impact players, and not just impact players, but at positions of need. You're talking about a pass rusher, a line of scrimmage defender, and a wide receiver that is an absolute impact guy from potentially day one.
And let's don't forget about Joe Phillips.
Yeah,
100%. Another pass rusher.
Yeah, I wonder if that's a guy, and people obviously want to know who's going to commit this week. And anybody, and I know he's saying he wants to take official visits. I just wonder if that's a guy that, man, if they push really hard this weekend and he's feeling it and there's 50,000 people, I don't even know what the attendance is going to be. The weather could be iffy, right? But I just wonder if that's going to be a guy that wasn't thinking about it.
Yeah.
But then did it anyway. I don't know.
Well, so there you go, man. I'm going to Auburn. Let me just.
Yeah.
I might still take some visits, but I want to get committed.
Yeah.
Fat Burnett was that guy because he told us he was going to do it in the summer, and he was pretty gung ho about that. And even people I talked to close to his recruitment said that. Look, we don't think he's quite ready yet. And then it was just like a flip of a switch. Okay, he's ready. He's going to Auburn.
Yeah, I wonder if Hugh Freeze pulls Joe Phillips into his office before the spring game and says, "I'd love for you to commit today." I wonder if that, I don't know. I'm just hypothetically speaking here. Who knows?
Right.
Listen. We talk about there's going to be a commitment this weekend.
Yeah.
I don't know who. I've got an idea. We all do have 3 or 4 names. Hey, if somebody said, "Give me a group," and who is it going to come from? I think I could give you a group of 5 names, and I think one of them is going to be the commitment at least. But nobody is like saying, "Yeah, I'm going to commit," mid-April.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody's saying, "I'm going to take my time. I'm going to take my visits in the summer before my season." Hell, even D'Angelo Barber. Let's don't forget about him.
Right.
D'Angelo Barber, the 4-star linebacker from Clay Chalkville. He's coming in again. He would certainly be on our list. And, I went back and did some research on him, and I think he said something like maybe in the middle of the season or, something like that. So you really can't take what they say as gospel.
No.
Not all the time.
Definitely not. And I think this is a staff that understands how to utilize momentum and understands that when you have a massive event like this, getting a commitment out of it gives that appearance of Auburn as a desirable place to be. You're generating buzz, and they understand that working through the media, creating a public commitment generates positive buzz for Auburn and keeps them relevant in the minds of other targets.
Yeah.
And so you're 100% right. I think they're going to put the screws in on several guys and say, look, who can we get in the boat? Who can we push to get in the boat to create that momentum for us? And it would be big if they can pull it off. That's for sure.
Here's what, and I think Cole and I discussed this the other day because of the in-state recruits. And Keith, you alluded to this earlier, but Walker White kind of being that only statement commitment right now because Jaden Lewis, you might have been out of an in-state school, out of state school for him. Amon Lane, the same thing. Jamarian Burnett, you beat Florida State, you beat 2 of the upper coming programs, but you're still not making a big statement. And that's what we all want. When I say we all, I'm talking about when we say we want to see statement wins. Mm-hmm. It's would Joseph Phillips be a statement win?
Yeah. To me, he would because of the Clemson and Florida State presence there, particularly Clemson.
I'll tell you,
go ahead, Cole.
The difference, Jeffrey, probably you look at Amon Lane's recruitment and when I talked to him a week before he committed. He said it was Auburn and LSU. He said those were the 2 pushing the hardest for him. LSU's a big one to beat, but it's one other school that kind of latched onto him and said he's really good. It's not 7 schools, right? Well, with Joe Phillips, it's Georgia, Clemson, Alabama, Texas A&M. We know they all want him. He's been visiting there. He tells us every time, at least in his words, hey, they're coming after me. So perception-wise, whether they're pushing as hard as Auburn or not, it definitely seems like those schools are in it and would definitely want him not to commit to Auburn. Right?
I mean, not every win's going to be a statement win, but you need to have a handful of them in this first cycle, I think, at least, you know what I mean, along with a bunch of other really good players. And just because a guy like Jaden Lewis, we don't necessarily consider a statement win doesn't mean he's not a hell of a prospect.
Right, absolutely.
Just pointing out who other people, who did you beat to land him? What eyebrows did you raise? I mean, at the end of the day, you're trying to put together a team. You don't necessarily care about all that stuff, but you do. You don't care, but you do care. You don't care because you're doing your own evaluations and you're not really worried about what other people think about guys. But you do care in the sense that as you're building this thing, you want kids to think, Auburn could be the next Georgia. Auburn could be the next Clemson. Auburn could be the next Alabama. And so they all want to be part of something like that. They don't want to be just, if you're recruiting upper echelon people. And this, by the way, this was the issue last year with, I don't know if Auburn was ever going to get Roussan Smith, Quay Roussan James Smith. I don't think so. But I was told all along that they did not want to be the centerpieces of the recruiting class, which is how Auburn often pitched them. They wanted to be part of an elite class They didn't want to just be two guys. They wanted to be part of an elite class. So because they knew they would get better at practice, they knew they could be part of something special. Well, if you're just 2 of 25 guys, let's say, and the other guys aren't really up to your level, then you're not thinking that. You're not thinking that big things are possible. They wanted to win. They wanted to be developed. They wanted to be pushed to practice every day. And in their eyes, I don't necessarily think that they thought that any of those things were going to happen, quite frankly. So, so the elite kids want all those things. Elite program they want to be part of. They want to win championships. They want to be developed for the NFL. And the best way to be developed for the NFL isn't necessarily coaching. It's by going up against, what are they always tweeting out? Iron sharpens iron. That's what they're looking for. Most of them.
Yeah. Hey, real quick.
Yeah.
Jhead, I'm going to come to you. But two things we've all agreed that we wanted to see from this Auburn team is the statement recruiting wins, right? But we also wanted to see Auburn keep the in-state talent from going to the Clemsons, from going to the Tennessees, from going to the Florida State. Well, that's what Auburn's done with Damon Lane. That's what Auburn's done with Jamarian Burnett. That's what Auburn's done with Jaden Lewis. So they're checking at least one of those boxes. And then Walker White, you're checking that statement recruiting win over Clemson. So they've checked at least one of those two boxes. And that's kind of what we as the experts or whatever the hell we're supposed to be want to see from this staff. And real quick, since we're on that subject, Zach wants to know, Zach in the back says, would Caleb Beasley, the 4-star defensive back from Nashville, is committed to in-state Tennessee. He came down. He did not want to do an interview after he left. I think he visited with Henry Brown.
Yep.
Would y'all consider that a huge win?
I think he's our number 1 player in Tennessee for on 3. So
he sure is.
There you go.
Yes.
So, yeah, if you go into Tennessee and take the number 1 player from Tennessee, a program that's on the rise, I'd consider that a big deal. So, Jhead, I'm sorry. Go ahead, big dog. You had something.
No, you're good. And Keith struck a chord because, yes, you want premium wins versus premium teams at premier positions, right? And we know that the portal can help subsidize your talent base in any recruiting class, except for at certain positions. Pass rusher, there are just not a lot of really good pass rushers in the portal. So you need to be able to hit in the high school ranks. Joseph Phillips and Jordan Ross, those are premier pass rushers. Yep. You've got to get talent like that in the high school class. And if Auburn could push him into the class earlier rather than later, that is extremely important, not just because of who you beat, but at the position that you beat them at, just because there's a scarcity with those kind of guys.
There's another reason why you can't rely predominantly on the portal, because we don't know what the portal rules are going to be in 12 months, 18 months, 24. The things could change. They may make it harder for guys to transfer. I don't know. So you can say, oh, let's just put this off till a later date and we'll get somebody next year. Well, we don't know that that's, but you're right, Jhead. Absolutely agree with you 100% there.
Keith, that point you made to me, we've all been talking about the statement wins. You got to have a few of those statement wins to have more statement wins, right? It's kind of like the old saying, you got to have money to make money, right?
Yeah.
So now you got Walker White in there. So now this is why I'm with you here, Jhead, on the receivers, because they look at that. I mean, they are thinking of him as that is a huge deal. Yeah. He's a top-rated recruit no matter what recruiting site you look at, and he's a quarterback. And he's calling me. He's texting me. I'm telling you, that right there was a big deal for Auburn. And that's the money, right? You got to have the money to make the money. He is the start of building that, in my opinion.
2025, you got Zayden Walker coming in, 5-star edge.
Yes.
Younger brother of your boy Zeke.
Yeah. Well, in Sly County, I think I'm pronouncing it right. I always get it wrong. Over in Ellaville, Georgia. I mean, that's really not that far away. That is, even though it's in the state of Georgia, it's essentially in your backyard. So those are guys you should be bigger factors with,
It's not too bad. I've made the drive now, Keith.
Yeah, down to Columbus, over to Villa Rica, down to Ellaville. Okay.
Keith always gets on me about my map skills. I'm learning that. I just got to get to these places.
Cole, how old are you? Didn't you ever open a map before? I mean, I don't understand this.
I'm 15, Keith. You gotta
give him a break, dude. Give him a break. All right, let me just run down this list and make
my whole life.
Make sure we're not forgetting
just by doing this. I mean, he's an old hunter now. He could get around a piece of property.
Okay, how about you, big dog?
I know, right?
KJ Bolden, we've talked about him. Landon Thomas, he's coming, or he's supposed to be, might even be here tomorrow or Friday. That's tomorrow. Cam Coleman, we talked about. Zaquan Patterson, yes. Walker White coming in to help recruit. You know, that's what he's doing. The 3 commitments, the 3 in-state commitments. Perry Thompson, DeMarcus Riddick. Sterling Dixon told me maybe he might try to hit up both schools on Saturday. I don't think anybody's holding their breath too much on him. Oh, how about big dog Daniel Hill?
Yes.
Yeah, gosh.
Him and Riley both, right? I mean,
yeah. And Kevin Riley and Jordan Ross. That was my next 2. Jeremiah Beeman.
Yeah, Beeman. He's told me for a while he was going to be there on A-Day. I think he's still going to be there. I think he's been in Alabama. He's been all over the place recently, Clemson, Alabama. To me, I'll tell you what, I hate to say this, but it feels like at one point Jordan Ross was the guy that I felt was unobtainable for Auburn.
mm-hmm.
I don't think Beeman's unobtainable. I just think it's gotten a little bit harder with him personally.
Sure.
I think it's gotten easier with Ross, or at least a better chance is what I'm trying to say. So getting Beeman back, huge, in my opinion.
Cole, Jordan Ross, his energy, I'm not a hippie by any means, or his attitude or his tone towards me personally has changed.
I agree. That's exactly the point I was wanting to make earlier, is that I thought, no way, no chance. I'm not even going to put any effort into that guy. He's not going to Auburn. And then all of a sudden, his whole demeanor changed when he got to meet the new staff, right? By the way, Daniel Hill has not made it to Auburn that we know of yet. And he was supposed to be there for Junior Day. He had texted me like a couple days before and said he was going to be there. He didn't make it for whatever reason. So this is the first time he gets to be there with the staff. I think that matters. I think that's starting to matter more than it used to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We talked about D'Angelo Barber. How about Jalewis Solomon?
Big time defensive back.
Brother, excuse me. Is he a brother? No, is he a brother? Yeah.
I think they're brothers somehow.
I got it. They're half.
Okay, cool.
Half brother.
Okay.
So he's coming over with, was it Zayden Walker?
Yeah. They're both related to Zykevis Walker.
I think they share a mother.
Yes. I think that's correct.
And I think Zeke and Zayden share both parents.
We'll make sure to ask them this week.
We will.
I'm pretty sure that's the case from talking to a coach over there, I think.
And you know, they're on a ton of package deals, right? But that's one of those ones where you could see 2 guys, I mean, for family purposes. You know, it's, hey, look, I mean, we can't be here and there at the same time. Now, Jalewis Solomon, Auburn's recruiting him as a safety, correct?
Defensive back. I think they see some versatility there.
He's 2024, I should point out. So,
right.
Look, if you're the other brother, Walker's 2025. But still, they want to go to the same school. And, you know, this is convenient. We talk
about wide receivers. We talked about Daniel Hill coming from Mississippi. You know that's not going to be the only guy. Braylon Burnside is a 4-star wide receiver from Starkville, right in the shadows of Bulldog Stadium there. Oh, and your boy Terrence Hibbler, Cole.
Yeah, I like old Hibbler there. He talks how you talk about a guy that you get the vibe like he really likes Auburn. I get that vibe from him every time we talk. So I'm interested to see. Yeah, I don't remember the last time he visited either, so that's another one that needs to get on campus.
Yeah. Martavius Collins, the tight end we talked about, potential commit, maybe, I don't know. Isaiah Autry is scheduled to come in from Mississippi as well. He's a big offensive tackle. Landon Meat Marshall coming up with Fat from Andalusia. Malik Blockton coming down. These are some 3-star guys. Cole confirmed with Marcus Downs, the defensive lineman from South Carolina. And these 2 guys right here, these 2 in-state kids from South Alabama, I want everybody to put on their list.
Yes.
All right. Bryce Kane is a wide receiver from Baker in Mobile that Auburn offered this past weekend. Yep. I completely missed that, by the way. Okay. And then there's a Derek Butler from Davidson High School who's an athlete, but he's a hell of a running back. I want both of you, Cole and Jhead, y'all take a look at Derek Butler.
I've watched both. I know a lot about Bryce just because I started following him last year. He's a legitimate track athlete with a verified 10.500 meter 4.3 40. Had a monster season for Baker last year. Probably a slot guy on the next level. And I think he actually was track. Zach, correct me because Baker's your territory. But I I think he also played baseball predominantly.
He's a very good baseball
in addition
player.
to track, but a multi-sport athlete, legitimate speed. And when we talk about, like, look, you're going to take 3-star guys in the class. Okay. That's just not every kid can be ranked a 4 and a 5-star, but when you take 3 stars, you want them to have those traits, those NFL type traits, those tools that you can see them. If they hit, then you've really got something.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's got those tools. Whether he puts it all together on the field because of the rawness there, who knows? But he's got those tools that you want to see. And then you're right. The kid from Davidson, he's got some legitimate skills at running back. I mean, is he above Kevin Riley or Daniel Hill for me right now? No, he's not. But
What about Ronnie Royal?
Yes, he's more impressive to me than Ronnie.
Well, here's the other thing. We mentioned this before. Some of the guys we're not even talking about now.
Yep.
In 6 weeks after the evaluation period or end of May are going to shoot right up the board. It happens every year. We see it all the time. There'll be new offers going out. They'll go see a guy in person. And right now, their network of people across the country that are linked in with the recruiting people at Auburn and the coaches at Auburn are sending them names. Hey, you get out and see this guy. And they're compiling a list, not only of the guys that they have to go see, the Daniel Hills and Kevin Rileys of the world, but guys that are under the radar guys that, you've got that 128 days, I think, for your staff to visit guys in the spring. And they're going to say, we need to get out there to Brunswick, Georgia, or wherever and see this guy. And they're going to fall in love with some people and other people. And then once that first big school offers, then the domino effect happens and everybody else jumps in. But it's going to change. And people are going to say, well, what happened to this guy? Why don't you write about him anymore? Well, it goes in the inverse too.
That's right. Goes both ways. Go take a look at a kid.
Who's been enjoying recruiting too much on Twitter, Jeffrey? Who's been posting their top 28? Cole would have done that. Cole would have been one of those guys. Hey, here's my top 46, guys.
But when I mentioned those two guys' names, Bryce Kane and Derek Butler, there was a lot of excitement coming back to me when I said, are these just dudes? No. I mean,
they're dudes. Like,
they're dudes.
They're SEC dudes.
Yeah, you see offers go out around this time sometimes after you've sort of gotten a good look at your board and you say, okay, here's 100 guys we really like. Then you'll go back and go, okay, here's a guy in Texas I like. Here's a guy. But when you offer a guy in-state a little bit later, through the cycle, that's usually an eye-opener, right?
Pretty good sign.
Yeah.
And who's the kid, the Downs kid from South Carolina?
Caleb.
Look,
really likes him a lot.
You talking about the height, wingspan, power. Now, he's not technically where he needs to be, and he plays far too high. Low man wins on the line of scrimmage, obviously, always. But you see it, man. And now he's going to take a ding because of the competition he plays against. I mean, he's ragdolling dudes that look like me out there on the line of scrimmage. You know what I mean? But he's got an NFL type skill set. Now, can they refine it? Can they get him to the position where he plays, at a high level all the time? That's what you don't know about kids like that. But when Georgia is also in on him, and as well as they've recruited the defensive line over the last couple of years, you probably think you got a hit there, right?
Yes. The tools you're talking about, Jhead, the skill set, sometimes I've seen people post on our board like, I saw him play last year and he didn't do anything. It's not about so much what they're doing right now. It's about what they could be doing, right? The tools are what make their best football be ahead of them instead of they're maxed out right now. He's doing everything he can with what he's got. No, you look at a guy like Marcus Downs, and he may not know exactly what he's doing right now, but down the road, he could be a freak.
Looking at the clay, not the mold.
Yes, and that also depends on the position too, because some positions you say we need a guy that can play by year 2, or we are screwed there. In other positions, you may say, we're pretty good there, so we can take a guy like this who we think in 3 years is going to be better than the guys that are the 5-star guys right now. So it's not just looking at what a guy can do now. It's what could he be, and how does it impact us by position, if that makes any sense. Yeah, some positions you're loaded at. Hey, look, we can actually go a little. We can get a developmental guy here because we think if we hit on this guy, he's going to be better than the rest of them. It's just going to take a little bit of time. In other positions, you're in dire straits and you can't play that game. You need guys that can go in and play right away.
Yeah, I agree. And look, I've been to many a high school football game. Jeffrey, Cole, Keith, I know you've done the same thing, where the best player on the field was some 5'10", 225-pound offensive guard. You know what I mean? But they don't have the skill set to be able to play at an SEC level. And you're looking at this 6'6", 260-pound guy that couldn't block his way out of a wet paper sack, and the next thing you know, he's an NFL Hall of Famer. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, it happens. It happens
well,
a lot.
I'll give you an example. Orlando Brown Jr. was a guy that was a 3-star guy, and I think everybody as an offensive tackle out of a Peachtree is it Peachtree Ridge? I can't remember.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, in Swanee, Georgia. And, his dad played in the NFL. Everybody knew who his dad was, but he would struggle in camps and in games. He was just okay. But I remember talking to Mo Collins, who was a great offensive lineman for the Raiders, started for them in the Super Bowl, in fact. And I go, I don't know about this guy. I mean, he's 6'8", 350. He'd been over 400 pounds at one point. And Mo said, listen, piece of clay.
Yeah.
I know. And he said, I know who his daddy was too. His daddy was a mean dude in the NFL. He's the guy that got hit in the eye with the flag that one time. The ref threw the flag and it hit the guy in the eye. Well, that was his dad. Well, now Orlando Brown Jr. has been to like 4 straight Pro Bowls. And remember, on signing day, Tennessee dropped him. He was going to sign with South Carolina State, and Oklahoma came in at the last minute and said, we can take our time with this guy. We can develop this guy. Let's take him. Let's see how it goes. Well, the rest is history.
Wow.
A lot of those guys.
I'll tell you, there's something interesting too about these dual sport guys that, like Bryce Kane, we go back to him, who plays baseball. That guy's a playmaker, right? BJ Gibson, the other receiver they like, a very good baseball player. It's interesting to me. Look at Colton Hood. That guy's a playmaker, and he's a baseball player. I think there's something to that. It just opens up another ability for you when you're playing.
Cole, it also means they probably haven't hit their ceiling yet because they've been splitting time.
Yeah.
2025, we talked about Ryan Williams coming up from Saraland again. Zayden Walker, Caleb Cunningham, we talked about coming up. Malik Autry's coming over from Opelika, the 4-star defensive line commitment. Kobe Howard, another 4-star wide receiver. This is all 2025, guys. And as Hugh Freeze said again on the who? JD Piquel.
Yeah.
Had Hugh Freeze on his show Thursday morning. Hugh was talking about the 24 and 2025 again being the most important classes for him. So 2025, they're on an even footing, right? I think we all agree now that the 2025 class, Auburn's going to be caught up, right, with these guys. So this is going to probably be the first. They should be knocking it out of the park with 2025.
And let me tell you how smart of a statement that is by Hugh Freeze about knowing Auburn and its patience of sorts with, or lack thereof, with coaches. Understanding that if I don't hit a home run in 24 and 25 and accrue the talent that I need to be successful year over year, I'm not going to be here very long. So to have somebody self-aware that's not coming and saying, okay, be patient with me.
Right.
I got to, show it on the field first before I can go get some recruiting wins. And to a degree, that's true. Proof of concept is a real thing. It gets easier when you have that.
Yep.
But if you don't have the dudes, you can't make the plays. You know what I mean? And he gets that, he understands it, and he realizes, I'm not going to make it past year 4 if I don't knock it out of the park in 2024 and 2025 with getting the guys that I need to run my scheme.
Hey, and it's not just Hugh Freeze saying that either. It's a top-down thing.
Sure.
We've talked to Ben Agamawa, the tight ends coach now. We've talked to Josh Aldridge. We just talked to him the other day. I wrote a story about this and had his quotes in there. He called a shot. He said, we're going to crush it in 24 and 25. I was impressed with that. He called a shot.
Aldridge?
Josh Aldridge, the linebacker coach. That was his quote, I believe. We're going to crush it in 24 and 25. And he said, I think the original question was directed towards the transfer portal and if he was going to look for anybody else in the second window here. And he said, yeah. I mean, if somebody becomes available, then yeah. He said, but we don't want to live out of that portal, guys. We're going to crush it in 24 and 25. We're going to get this roster right. That was along the lines of what he was saying, and I like it, man. And he got some confidence about it. That's a good thing.
Well, right now, the portal is about roster survival for Auburn. In the future, you just hope it's about roster improvement.
Right.
Agreed, Keith.
The 4 other guys I've got here, Jared Smith, who is a stud in-state edge from Spain Parks coming in. Dalen Upshaw, let's don't forget about him.
Yeah.
younger teammate of Cam Coleman's coming in. Your boy Elijah Melendez from Osceola, Kissimmee. Is it Kissimmee?
Kissimmee, Osceola, home of, I believe, the great Frank Ford, the great Auburn basketball.
Oh, I was going to say to Sharvin Bell.
Cody Parkey.
Doesn't Jordan have a big home down there, Keith?
Michael Jordan?
Yeah.
Not in Kissimmee. Not in Kissimmee. Not many people have homes big home. No, Kissimmee, no. I don't know. No, I think Jordan's down in the Jupiter West Palm. Kissimmee's right next to Disney. But again, an area to get off track here, an area where the Auburn logo, from Orlando to Tampa and then in the other direction over to Daytona and Cocoa, Auburn's historically done pretty well along that corridor there. So,
And football will not be the only sport on campus this weekend with visitors. Denver Jones, the big-time transfer guard from FIU, arrived Thursday for an official visit. He will leave midday Saturday. Obviously, Easter is Sunday. And then the following weekend, Auburn has already locked in visits with Damian Dunn, who is from Temple.
So he's from Temple. He's a combo guard forward from Temple, around 6'5", about 220-ish, I think, averaged around 15 points per game, and I think he's never averaged less than 13. Crafty is how I would describe him. Adequate to above adequate three-point shooter, spacer, but crafty, not an explosive athlete, but a guy that knows how to get into the lane, make some things happen when he does. So really good prospect, I think, with the top four of Auburn, NC State, UConn, and Gonzaga. And so when you've got those teams all in the mix, you realize you're dealing with a pretty quality prospect.
Another guy that next weekend coming in is a big 7'1". He was a freshman this past year, Micah Hanlogden.
Jeffrey, I'm gonna leave that one with you.
Listen, when I was going to typing it out, I was like Handlogton. So that's how I remembered how to spell it, Hanlogden. But he's expected to visit next weekend as well. So you'll have two next weekend. And then Cario Aquendo, the transfer guard from Georgia, released his top four earlier today. Auburn, Utah,
Nebraska, and Oregon.
There you go. I had put in there, listen, two things about rules and date lines that we all did. The portal opens up April the 15th, not May the 1st. Totally missed that. And I have been under the impression that the interconference SEC transfer rule was still in play. Like if a kid a freshman from Auburn doesn't like where he is, he can go transfer immediately to Georgia and be eligible. Is that right?
My understanding is the interconference transfer rule is still in play. Like I
thought so too.
I haven't seen that revoked. I did catch, and we discussed this in our group chat, but I did catch where they moved. They kind of just snuck it in there where they made the quick change to make it April 15th to the 30th.
Yeah, that I went and did my research on this. They overturned it in June of 2021, and I don't know. But I asked somebody that would know. Listen, Aquendo, whatever his name is. But he signed with the JUCO, and then he transferred to Georgia. That doesn't count. Has nothing to do with it. So he hasn't transferred at all, according to the NCAA. But he can transfer right now to Auburn and be immediately eligible. The only concern there is having enough credits to transfer.
So I think the February 1 rule is a little bit different. And that only exists for football. For basketball, it's different. And this is the first window of the portal period for the spring for basketball.
Because I saw that it was post portal or the late portal entries were no longer eligible. It's very difficult, man. I'm gonna have to do some research on that. Football's one way and basketball's the other. Is that what you're telling me?
Absolutely. So
okay, because stats don't matter was like, that's not right. And I was like, man, I don't know.
So fall sports, and by fall sports, they mean volleyball and they mean football. You have to have transferred to another team. Like if you're going to transfer in conference, you have to have done it by February 1st. For spring sports, then they have a different deadline for that. And I believe it's July 1st. is the date that you have to have committed an intra-conference transfer. That's my understanding of the rule, Jeffrey. Now I may be wrong there completely, and me and you can put our heads together and do a little bit of research.
We will have some clarity on that, because you're telling me right now if Brock Vandegrift in 2 weeks after the G Day game is third on the depth chart, and you telling me that he can transfer to Auburn before June the 1st or whatever and be Auburn's starting quarterback? That's what I don't understand.
So so football's a fall sport. So technically speaking, you have to have transferred by February 1st.
My bad. You're right. You just told me that.
Yeah, for spring, it's up to June or July 1st, I think.
Jessica said I'm not a very good listener. Not a very good talker either, am I? Let's see. So basketball. We'll be following that closely. We'll be following, obviously, football. We're going to have the call-in show Saturday night at 6:30, man. We're going to try to have as much intel collected up by then, a lot of recruiting and a lot of football. Before we go, though, any how about yous this week?
Let's see.
Because I've got enough for everybody.
Well, let's get Keith's Masters pick first before.
You can't. Who knows, man? I don't know. I mean, John Rahm. You couldn't go wrong with Rahm.
I'll go Tiger.
What's that?
You're not going to go Tiger?
I don't know if he's going to make the cut. He didn't have a great day. So I'll just say John Rahm. I'd like to see Jordan Spieth win.
What happened? Is John Daly still play golf?
Yeah, but he never won the Masters. So, you can't. You can play in that one till pretty much for life if you want, if you win it. But he never won that one. So he's not playing this week.
John Daly with the mullet and the grip it and rip it attitude, baby. Love him.
Is Fred Couples?
Fred Couples played well today. He's in it.
Oh, he's in it?
He won it. He won it. So you're always invited back. Although at a certain age, usually people say, it's getting longer. It's getting hard. They're getting harder to compete on the tour on this course. Couples, I think, is 63, so that he doesn't have too many left. But he shot 1 under today.
That's when I watched the golf. That was back within the Freddie Couples. I think it was before Tiger, maybe.
Yeah, legendary off the course too, apparently.
About the same time Pete Sanchez was dominating the tennis sphere.
He was, no doubt.
Still in tennis, man.
Andre Agassi.
Yeah. Andre Agassi. What'd you call him?
Agassi.
Andre Agassi.
Pete Sanchez and Andre Agassi. All right.
No how about for me. None for me.
No. How about you? Keith has come back from San Fran. No. We were wondering what you was doing over there, by the way.
Look, can I tell one quick story? We went through. I know Jed has to go here. Jessica's in the background telling Jeff what an idiot I am, I'm sure. But I went to Stanford. We went to Stanford on the way to Pebble Beach. And I'm like, I got to get a Stanford shirt. I'm buddies with the athletic director there. I grew up there, or I grew up with him, and he was at the Final Four though, I think. So I go in and I buy this really cool Stanford shirt, and I'm like, why would you buy it? Well, I'll tell you why I bought it. And I wore it on the flight back. And I got on that airplane with that Stanford shirt on. And I get to my row, and a guy jumps right up and tells his wife, "Oh, my God, the Stanford guy." Stanford guy.
Stanford guy.
Listen, I've worn that T-shirt 3 days in a row. And people are looking at me in a whole different light. Okay.
And you still don't have a girlfriend.
I got into Stanford. Okay.
But is it because you wore your jean shorts with the Stanford T-shirt?
Listen, if you look at any one of us four and you think we could have got into Stanford, you probably got some problems way beyond that. Okay.
Well, I barely got into Enterprise State Community College. I mean, what are you talking about?
For yourself, sir.
Yeah. Anyway.
All right, Cole, Jhead.
Yeah, I got one.
Okay.
North GA Tiger.
Oh, good one.
Yeah. He's on it. He's on it all the time. He's all about some recruiting right now.
All right.
Frederick 90.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
he's been bringing a little heat lately.
Is that the guy that's got all the info from Mobile?
Not from Mobile, but he's got info from someplace.
I mean, Andalusia.
He's the guy they call Uncle or something like that. Is that the guy?
Yep.
Yes, I think. Yeah.
Okay, he's great. He's fantastic.
Yeah, he's got good stuff.
I think we doubled up on him last week too, because he had a lot of good Fat Burnett's intel.
Yeah, we did have a Frederick 90 squared on that one.
Yep, sure did. All right, I got you some big dogs. How about you to Kid Country, man? Kid Country, also known as Edward from Selma. Lost his grandma last week. Been thinking about Edward, man. So how about you to Kid Country? How about you to Good Fan? How about you to Johnny Knox 07? How about you to Gabriel Schaefer? How about you to Cinco 2 Sace? How about you to Justin 3636? How about you to Big Vandy? How about you to PGA Train at Deuce Deuce? How about you to Augustus McCrae? Well, I tell you what, if that ain't a damn good name, I don't know what is. If y'all ain't seen Lonesome Dove, we can't.
Bro, yeah, no,
How about you to Buck 1988? Listen, here's another one, man. How about you to Shelby Burcheat?
Yeah.
I don't know who this girl is. I don't know if she's a member of our board, but on Twitter, she likes and retweets everything we do. I don't know if it's us or everybody at an Auburn beat, but she's the God Camet of Twitter.
She is responsible for some views. There's no doubt.
She is. So I thought she deserved a how about you. I'm seriously, and God Camet, he likes every post on the corner. She's the God Camet of Twitter when it comes to liking stuff. Did I say, how about you to Buck 1988? How about you to, that's it. That's some great stuff. There was somebody, man, it was hilarious. Oh, how about you to Chemo Sabi?
he always finds a way in there, doesn't he?
Well, right before we were getting on, man, it was, I can't remember what he posted. I about fell out of my chair, man. It was good stuff, though. All right, good stuff, folks. We appreciate it. We are going to be all over 8-day weekend. We're going to start it off Friday with a war room. We're going to have other articles. We're going to be tracking the recruiting. We will go to Saturday night. Keep that in mind, folks, because the call-in show was moving to Saturday night at 6:30 p.m. We're going to have people calling in. We'll have Justin calling in with his thoughts. Jhead will be here with me. Cole will be calling in. Keith, what are you going to be doing?
I'll be here.
All right. Cool. Zach in the back will be here as well. And I think that's it. Again, Auburn Live on 3. Right now, we've got the spring game special. It's not going to last long, maybe another 48, 72 hours tops. $10 for 4 months. Get on that, big dogs. Thanks, everybody. We appreciate everybody listening. We appreciate everybody watching. For Jhead, for Cole, for Keith, for Zach in the back, I'm Jeffrey Lee. Y'all stay in that left lane. See you.